For the record, I am neither a Republican nor a Democrat. I am a nobody. I've been fed up with both parties for quite some time, and I am a registered independent. All I care about is truth and results. If you have 12 minutes, I'm about to deliver you the truth and can't wait to see if there's any results. This broadcast goes out specifically to Senator Durbin of Illinois and all the rest of your do-nothing, liberal, obstructionist, racist party who clearly have no respect for the presidency of the United States. Your parents named you aptly, Mr. Durbin, because you truly are a dick. Clearly you have been infected by TDS, Trump Derangement Syndrome, the bug that is an epidemic among liberals in this country. I hope we can find a vaccination soon, and more importantly, a cure. You come out of a private meeting where you are the only Democrat in attendance and spout off and tattle about what you may or may not have heard in that meeting. First of all, what part of the word private don't you understand? Second, if you are lying, you are a true jackass. Your party's mascot is so apropos. Thirdly, if you're telling the truth, you are a traitor and an unpatriotic jackass. President Trump denies saying shithole countries, so based on the rest of the full-blown corruption and false accusations the Democrats have alleged against him, I choose to believe him. However, I am not so close-minded as to not believe he may have said something close to that. Maybe he said crap hole, I don't know. What I do know is you made a mountain out of a molehill. What if he did say that? It was in a private meeting, meant for no one else's ears, and you come out of that meeting tattling like a junior high school teen for no other reason than to try to make him look bad. What is wrong with you and your party? Why didn't you call him on it right then and there? Or better yet, why didn't you ask him if you could speak to him privately for a couple of minutes after the meeting and discuss and hash it out with him then? You would rather cause trouble and create distractions and keep crap going all around you than to do the job of the people. Have you morons ever thought of the damage you're doing to our country? Your party has no self-discipline. You have no shame. Just because you dislike the president does not give you the right to trash him in his office. Your corrupt party has cost the taxpayers millions of dollars on investigations of false accusations, all in an effort to distract the lemmings that follow you from the fact that your party stands for absolutely nothing but obstruction. You and your other deplorable Democrat obstructionists were not elected to tear down the president and the country in the process. You were elected to discuss the wishes of your constituents with your party and across the aisle with the other party and combine ideas and come up with solutions through compromise and then move on to the next issue. You cannot run a country the way it has been run for the last decade. Our founding fathers must be turning over in their graves. John Adams despised Thomas Jefferson, but they worked together and Jefferson served as Adams' vice president for the sake of the country. They were so in step with each other. They died on the same day exactly 50 years after the signing of the Declaration of Independence. The country is fed up with partisan politics. I actually have no issue with the Republicans that voted against Obamacare repeal. Not because I agree with them, but because they actually voted their conscience, like the founding fathers intended. Had the Democrats voted their conscience instead of voting pure partisan, Obamacare would have been repealed. You liberal jackasses would rather bring the country down than to allow our president to have any success. You would rather hurt yourselves and your constituents than acknowledge his accomplishments. You guys have no conscience, so you can stick together like the liars and thieves you are. Republicans don't have the luxury of denying reality, and since they do have a conscience, they rarely are on the same page. The fact that any vote is ever based on pure party alignment attests to the fact that the vote is both rigged and not in the best interest of your constituents. Maybe it is time to abolish parties altogether so we can get this country moving again. Your super racist party sees everything through emotion, gender, and race. If you and the other Dems, and especially the fake news liberal media, could blank these things from your minds when making decisions and reports, you might find that there is not nearly as much racism and sexism out there as you think. These issues get invoked into virtually every news story out there and by nearly every liberal out there. Instead of reporters saying a white male police officer gunned down a black male teenager, why can't it be reported that a police officer gunned down a teenager? The statement is horrible enough as it is, but why do we have to invoke race and gender into every story? Without race and gender in the story, there is no racism or sexism. It's just a story and it's just the truth. So Dick, your tattletale, whiny-ass report is something the president may or may not have said has dominated the news cycle for the past few days. To what end? While people are talking about that, they're not talking about the fact that you are not doing your job. Your party has done this for the entire first year of Trump's presidency. Do you and the rest of the Dems really think the majority of Americans are so stupid that you can keep us distracted through the 2018 elections and that this is going to benefit your party? I think you're in for a very big surprise. You have shown that you can't be trusted, so I would not be shocked if the president never invited you to another private meeting. Can you blame him? Would you like it if President Trump would stop tweeting? You might be in the majority there, but as long as the fake news liberal media keeps fabricating stories and flat out lies and refuses to report virtually any of his accomplishments, who is going to do it? The truth is no longer a goal or even a requirement of journalism, and it has become a rare commodity in the corrupt Democrat Party. Over and over and over, you and your peeps have told the American public they are not really getting a tax cut. Do you think in the next 30 days, after the majority of people in the country start bringing home bigger paychecks, you're going to be able to cover up or perpetuate that lie? We need to get rid of all the extremist, wacko racists in your party, and yes, even some of the swamp creatures still left in the Republican Party. We need to start with crying Chuck Schumer, wacko Nancy Pelosi, nutcase Maxine Waters, whining Adam Schiff, sneaky Dianne Feinstein, Pocahontas Elizabeth Warren, and you, Tattletale Dick Durbin. And though I have the utmost respect for the war hero John McCain, he is an obstructionist and he needs to go, along with Lindsey Graham, Jeff the Flake, and Bob Corker. This is the short list. To drain the swamp would take getting rid of hundreds. It is a crying shame that statesmanship no longer exists in politics. The kinds of sacrifices our founding fathers gave have not been matched in the last 200 years. Statesmen work for their constituents and get things done for the sake of the country without regard to the next election. Politicians do nothing but campaign to get reelected and don't give a damn if they ever get anything done. They don't want to accomplish anything. They justify their existence by making sure there are always problems and in many cases are even the cause of the problems. We can't run a country like that. Nancy Pelosi once said it was her job to get reelected and to get other Democrats reelected. No, Nancy, that is not your job. And once the lemmings that follow you realize you do absolutely nothing for them but to keep them down while piling in millions for yourself, they will eventually dump you and those like you in your party. Ronald Reagan was a statesman. He didn't need that job. He saw the country headed in the wrong direction and felt the calling and drive to fix it, and he did a pretty good job. For those of you that keep accusing Trump of wanting the presidency to help him and his friends get richer, are you kidding me? Donald Trump is the first true statesman to enter the presidency since Reagan. Who among you really thinks he needs that job to make money? He was a multi-billionaire without the aid of that office. He and his family are giving their lives to put our country back on track. They are the most selfless family to enter the White House since the Washingtons. Your party is so full of hate, intolerance, and racism that you are blinded to the accomplishment of the president. You can't even acknowledge that his presidency is directly responsible for the Dow Jones Industrial Average skyrocketing 41% since the day he was elected. This fact alone encompasses dozens of accomplishments that he has completed in spite of yours and the liberal biased fake news media's obstruction. He is absolutely the right man for this job at the right time. A lesser man would have folded under the pressure, corruption, and accusations he has had to endure for the past 2 years. Anyone with a brain can see that Donald Trump has been great for this country and is very quickly making America great again. He has been the most transparent president in history, and for some reason you and your liberal lemmings can't stand the fact that he is actually keeping the promises he made during his campaign. What a novel idea. Washington is not used to that, are they? Yes, he is rough around the edges, a minor sacrifice to avoid more swamp creatures. You guys have to stop calling him a racist because he wants to enforce the laws of our country. Everything is not racism, sexism, homophobia, xenophobia, or any of those other made-up phobias you liberals have to bring up to justify your existence. If you have a problem with the laws, fix the laws, but quit deriding him for enforcing them. After all, his job is to enforce and execute our laws and keep us safe. At least he has helped us to create millions of jobs and is bringing industry and capital back into our country. And he is helping employers to be able to pay their employees more and therefore likely actually value their employees more. If he had been president back in 1999 instead of the corrupt, abusing, sexual assaulter in chief we had then, maybe the company I was working for would have had more respect for my commitment instead of using me up until I was no longer useful, then dumping me and my family out on the street, for which to this day I have never recovered. For those of you that are ashamed of our country, you only have a few choices in getting it changed. Taking a knee during our national anthem is not one of them. You can either run for office and effect the changes you would like, or you can vote out the politicians who are only serving themselves and vote in statesmen that are willing to do the will of the people, or, and this may be harsh, you can get the hell out. Our country doesn't need millions of snowflake crybabies that do nothing but complain about everything. That is getting old. If you don't like it and aren't willing to do anything to affect change other than complain all the time, just leave the country. Go to one of those better countries out there that are so much greater than the United States. Surely you will be much happier. And I can guarantee you that those of us who are left will be happier too. Win-win. If you would like a digital transcript of this video, send an email request to the address below. Thank you for listening.